and I call the Minister for Urban Infrastructure.
Mr Speaker, is there a more ludicrous spectacle? Is there a more ludicrous spectacle than a leader of a Labor opposition having the temerity to criticise this side of the House when it comes to delivery? How short their memories are when you look at this side's utterly inept record of delivery. There's the member for Lilly just creeping out of the chamber. He was the man who stood here and said the 4 years of surplus I announced tonight. How many years of surplus did he deliver? Not 4, not 3, not 2, not 1. He delivered none of them. Who can forget Labor's disastrous incompetence on border protection? You know, I had a look recently at a press release issued by the then Minister for Immigration, Senator Chris Evans, on the 13th of May 2008, speaking about the scrapping of temporary protection visas, and he said, quotes, "This would not compromise the government's commitment to protecting Australia's borders." Would not compromise. What a disastrous record of delivery the Labor Party has when it comes to protecting Australia's borders. 1,200 deaths at sea, 50,000 unauthorised arrivals, 8,000 children were put into detention, 17 onshore detention centres, and the Leader of the Opposition has the temerity to talk about delivery. What about their hopeless record of incompetence on delivery when it comes to the national broadband network? In the 2007 election, they promised they would spend $4.7 billion to connect 98% of Australians to a fibre-to-the-node network. Complete failure to deliver. They just could not do it. So in 2009, they had a new plan. Now it was going to be $43 billion, and they were going to connect 90% of Australian premises to fibre to the premises. What had they achieved when they left government? Well, they'd spent money, because they're very good at spending money, this lot. They'd spent money. They'd spent over $6 billion, but what had they delivered? Barely 50,000 Australians connected to the network. We are connecting more Australians to the network every month than Labor's chaotic, incompetent record of delivery when it comes to the national broadband network. What about the Pink Bats disaster in which tragically 4 young men died, some 200 house fires, thanks to this lot's incompetent record of delivery? What about my personal favourite, the member for Adelaide? The member for Adelaide was going to end the double drop-off. Oh, yeah. The member for Adelaide was going to end the double drop-off. There was going to be 260 new childcare centres built on the premises of schools all around the country, and it was going to end the double drop-off. 260. Do you know how many they managed to build by the time they pulled the plug in April 2010? 38. Oh, that's 38. They managed 38 out of the promised 260, and this hopeless rabble has the temerity to come in here and talk about delivery. Let me tell the House about delivery, Mr Deputy Speaker. Let me tell you what the Turnbull government is delivering. Economic growth has strengthened to 3.3%. We now have faster economic growth than any of the G7 economies. In the last year, we've created almost 220,000 jobs, and over 60% of those have gone to women. I'll tell you one very important thing we've done to create jobs. We ended Labor's disastrous Road Safety Remuneration Tribunal, which was an arrow in the heart of small businesses in the trucking sector delivering jobs. That meant 35,000 owner-drivers could get back on the road. And our PATH program, announced in the budget, will provide up to 120,000 internships for young people to get a foothold into jobs. I talked about the national broadband network before. I talked about Labor's incompetent, unbelievably hopeless record of delivery. You compare that to the systematic, steady progress we are making on this side of the House with a competent chief executive, competent board, competent management team, credible business plan, and that is why over 3 million premises around Australia can now connect to the national broadband network, and the chief executive of the national broadband network, as recently as last week, made it clear that we are on target to get the national broadband network completed by 2020. That's delivery. That's what's happening under Prime Minister Turnbull. That's what was happening under Communications Minister Turnbull, and that's something this lot on the other side have simply never managed to achieve, because they are completely incompetent when it comes to delivery. Let's talk about our export agreements, Mr Deputy Speaker, with which Australia is engaging with the growing economies in Asia and the terrific opportunities for our exporters. Under the China Free Trade Agreement, the tariff on fresh and frozen beef cuts has already been cut from 12% to 9.6%. By 2024, it will be zero. Under our Korea Free Trade Agreement, the tariff on fresh beef has already been cut from 40% to 32%. That is delivery. We are delivering on healthcare, Mr Deputy Speaker, despite the extraordinarily misleading claims made by the Labor Party in this last election. Bulk billing is at record levels under a Turnbull government. We're investing more in localised mental health care and support. Our ambitious $1.1 million National Innovation and Science Agenda is being implemented. Innovation and science is being supported by responsible, guaranteed funding of schools, which will increase 26% over the next 4 years. And let's talk, Mr Deputy Speaker, about border protection, where the Turnbull government is delivering. It's been almost 800 days since a boat arrival. We've been able to close 17 detention centres. And when it comes to border protection, you don't hear Labor having anything credible to say. We have a proud record of delivery, Mr Deputy Speaker, and that's before I even get to talking about the $50 billion infrastructure program which we are delivering and continue to deliver. This motion asks what's been achieved in the last 12 months. I'll tell you what's been achieved in the last 12 months. Flinders Link, an extension of the Adelaide Rail Network to Flinders University, $43 million committed in June of this year. Forestfield Airport Link, an 8.5-kilometre extension of the Perth Rail Network to connect to Forestfield near the Perth Airport. $490 million committed in May this year. Gold Coast Light Rail Stage 2, construction of a 7.3-kilometre light rail system, $95 million committed by the Turnbull government. The sods were turned in August 2016 for Stage 2, and I was very pleased to be there at that sod turning. WestConnex, this extraordinarily important project, which will link Sydney's west and southwest with the CBD, a 33-kilometre continuous free-flowing motorway. M4 East tunnelling began in July 2016. That's delivery, Mr Deputy Speaker. We are getting on with delivering, the Turnbull government delivering. The Gateway Upgrade North project in Brisbane, 11.3 kilometres, widening from 4 to 6 lanes between Nudgee and Bracken Ridge. Major works commenced in February 2016. The Tullamarine freeway widening to widen and upgrade the Tullamarine freeway between the Melbourne Airport and Melrose Drive. Work commenced in May 2016. In Adelaide, the North-South Corridor, the Darlington upgrade, a reconfiguration of a section of South Road into an expressway standard road. Work commenced in April 2016. So, Mr Deputy Speaker, across every aspect of this government's activities, we are delivering. What are we seeing that's being delivered by the Leader of the Opposition? What are we seeing that's being delivered by the Leader of the Opposition? We've seen a complete failure to act on Senator Dastyari taking payments from Chinese-owned companies. We've seen a $40,000 pay cut to the member for Fenner to accommodate that old-style socialist hack Senator Kim Il-kar. That's what we're seeing in terms of comparative wage justice from the Leader of the Opposition. And of course, we've seen the Leader of the Opposition imposing silence on the member for Grayndler. The member for Grayndler has been barely heard of in some 4 question times. I wonder why the member for Grayndler is never allowed to get a question under this Leader of the Opposition. By contrast, Mr Deputy Speaker, what you are seeing from this side of the House, from the Turnbull government, you are seeing a consistent pattern of delivery. And just today, we've announced a way forward in relation to the plebiscite on same-sex marriage. We've announced the date when that will be held. We are carrying out the action we committed to carry out during the 2016 election. We are delivering. Just today, you've seen us announce agreement with the opposition in relation to $6 billion of budget savings. We are doing what the people expect the Turnbull government to do, which is to get on and get the budget under control. So this, Mr Deputy Speaker, is a government which is delivering. We've had a year of delivery. Of course there is much more to do, but we are determined to create in this country the growth, the jobs, the prosperity, the opportunity to back Australians to achieve everything they want to achieve. That's what we're focused on. We're not focused on inside the Beltway political games. We've had 12 months of delivery and there's much more to come.